This is going to be a dad vid from a new dad. That's right. The baby has been born. You might hear him crying in the background intermittently through this video. As I sit here in my sanctuary of ages for dads around the world, the garage. Now, I haven't made a video for a bit over, probably about a week, because my wife gave birth on the weekend, labored all through the night. We'd planned on doing a home birth, but towards the end she was in extreme pain, so we took her to hospital and she popped out our boy in about 5 minutes. It was a very quick delivery. Now, I'm kind of using that as an excuse of why I haven't been making videos. Had a baby, shit's been busy, yeah, we get it. The reality is, I haven't been making videos because I've been a perfectionist. I've been too much of a perfectionist. And I'm realizing more and more how being a perfectionist is really just a bad case of having your head up your own arse. Does that resonate? You see, I've been telling myself that I can't make a video unless I have something really worth saying. But the truth is, what is worth saying? Like, if I'm going to sit up here and talk to y'all about enlightenment or how to get laid or semen retention benefits, is any of that worth saying just because there's a catchy hook, a catchy marketing gimmick that I've used to pull you in? Is any of that more worth saying than just describing my ordinary, mundane, day-to-day life? This is the problem, young Padawans. This is the problem. The symptoms of this problem are seen clearly by the fact that all the semen retention videos talking about women benefits are the ones that get tons of views, right? Because we're looking for that flashy new thing that we haven't heard before about what's going to get us laid. But the reality is, the reason you haven't been getting laid is because you're searching for the flashy things. It's because you're chasing the glamour that you're not getting laid. It's because you're chasing the dopamine hits that you've fucked up your brain, that you've become chemically imbalanced, that you've become weak. And so, a good friend of mine recently sent me a message, and it came from a very good place, right? It came from a very sincere place. He said to me, you've really got to start thinking about your brand. You've really got to start thinking about your colors, your brand, being recognizable, being seen. These weren't his words, but this is kind of the track that I went down. Being seen as a product, being recognizable, We all recognize that we can go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac in under 10 minutes for $7. And it got me reflecting on this whole thing. I was like, yeah, maybe I should get myself a brand. Maybe I need to clean up my act. Maybe I need to start wearing nice clothes on my videos. But then I remembered one of the most masculine representations that I've ever seen, albeit on a film, which is still a product. Even a cult classic film is still a product. It's still consumerism. No matter how edgy or counterculture it may be. I'm talking, of course, of Fight Club. In particular, I'm talking about Tyler Durden, the epitome of postmodern I'm going to say the response to postmodernism. Tyler Durden, right? To me, he epitomizes masculinity in the postmodern age. He is an anti-brand. He's an anti-consumerist. And when I started this channel, when I started just ranting about semen retention, I didn't want a brand. I didn't want a fancy intro. I didn't want a little jingle at the start of my videos to appease your Pavlovian instincts where you hear a little bell and you start to salivate because you're being conditioned by the jingle that I play at the start of my videos. To me, all of that stuff is, for want of a better word, it's gay. No offense to my gay brothers. It's just gay. It's kind of pulling us back into this programmed, consumeristic, cookie cutter, productized bullshit. I don't want to be part of that. I want to make videos that are just real, that are spontaneous, that flow, that aren't planned, that aren't a fucking product, that aren't a fucking brand. Because I feel that there should be a place on the internet. You know, there's a few special places on the internet. You could take Reddit for an example, where people just show up and they're just real. There's no fluff. There's no bullshit. People just show up and say it like it is to each other. It's very refreshing. That's what I want this channel to be. That's what I want my product, Sons of God Community, which I do promote openly, even though I'm ranting against productizing and brands. That's what I want Sons of God to be, the community. A place where brothers can just drop all the bullshit. Drop the uniforms, drop the masks, drop the social conditioning and just show up and have a real conversation about some real shit. And hopefully resolve some stuff within themselves by interacting with other men. I don't want another brand. I don't want to be this guy who shows up and hand feeds you some more cliche SR, emotional management, pandering BS to make you feel a bit better without actually helping you resolve the root cause of your problems. Sit here talking about women benefits all day so you can get another dopamine hit to distract you from the dopamine hits that you've been seeking through corn for years. It's time to get real. It's time to be raw. And so something that's been on my mind lately has been this cancerous weakness which I see in modern men. And I'm recognizing that everything's a projection. You know, everything I say about someone else, I'm saying about myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be saying it because it wouldn't bother me. It's all a projection. Every time you poke the finger out there at someone else and you bring some kind of judgment or some kind of criticism or insult, you're really pointing the finger at yourself. The only reason you notice it externally, the only reason it triggers you is because it's a reflection of you. Have you figured that out yet? I've been saying that a bit on this channel. So when I talk about being bothered by this pandemic, the real pandemic, not the plandemic, the pandemic of weak, effeminate men in modern society, I know that I'm just talking about myself. My own effeminate nature, my own weakness. And so hopefully in this discussion, I can open that up and bring myself to some kind of deeper acceptance and integration of my weakness, which bothers me so much. What I'm seeing lately is men who give their word and then don't follow through. Men who say that they're going to do something. Let's say, for example, you say you're going to be at a certain place at a certain time. Meet up with your buddy. You're going to go do something together. It better be hunting deer. And you don't show up. And you don't even tell him that you're not going to show up. You just don't show up, and then you apologize effeminately later on after the fact and make up a shitty excuse. This kind of behavior is cancerous as a man. You can get away with it if you're a female, right? Because women are a completely different kettle of fish. Women are emotionally led creatures. And so when they say something, it actually has no grounding in reality or truth, if I can be so brazen, so chauvinistic to say something like that. A feminine woman, when she speaks, she's speaking from pure emotion, kind of like a child, right? Because she's grounded in emotion. She's grounded in the energy of the present moment, in the flux, the shifting conditions of the present moment. A man, a masculine man, when he speaks, he's talking about reality. When he gives his word, he is making a declaration of a future reality if he says he's going to do something. And so if he doesn't follow through on that, his masculinity, his grounding in reality is completely compromised. His integrity is written off like a car that's had a crash. He's no longer fit for service. The moment he breaks his word, he has sent a fissure, a crack down into the deepest parts of his core, of his masculinity. He has shattered his masculine integrity. You see what I'm saying? Because the masculine is rooted in truth. The feminine is rooted in, you could say, emotion, flux, the shifting patterns. She's rooted in energy. The masculine is rooted in consciousness. Consciousness is the awareness of what is. energy, form, the feminine, is the ever-shifting, ever-changing. So when you break your word as a man, you're becoming feminine. You're basically saying to the universe, I'm feminine. I'm not masculine. Treat me as though I'm feminine. Dominate me. Lead me because I can't lead. Put me in a position where I'm being supervised, where I'm being managed by someone else, where I'm not directing the ship, where I can just be in my emotions, where I can be free to flow and dance and shimmer and be pretty. That's the feminine. All right. That's what you're doing to yourself every time you break your word. This is not just talking about relapses or retention, brothers. This is talking about your masculine spirit. Your masculine spirit is not something you take for granted that just is unconditionally. That's not how it works. Your masculinity is conditional. When you go outside of the boundaries of integrity, you are compromising your masculinity. So let's talk about retention. If you commit to yourself and you tell yourself, I'm going to do 30 days, and come hell or high water, come severe, violent anxiety attacks, or the most gorgeous fucking women throwing themselves at me, sending me naked DMs, naked snaps, telling me that they want me, regardless of any of this stuff, once you tell yourself, I am doing 30 days, and I will sooner die than relapse. If you value yourself as a man, if you want to be a man, you must keep your promise to yourself. Let me put it in language that your ego will get excited by. If you want females to be consistently attracted to you, you must keep your word. Unconditionally. You must keep your word. You must keep your promises to yourself. Masculinity equals integrity. The degree of integrity you have is the degree of masculinity you have. I've come to realize that it is as simple as that. And people will mock you, people will call you inflexible, they might say that you're autistic because you stick to your guns no matter what. Now, this is not to say that you can't change, you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't be flexible. There is an element of that in what I'm saying. But underneath all of that, there is a depth which you are very well aware of in your spirit. You know this to be true. There is a certain depth to which when you make yourself a promise, you know you have to follow through. You know there can't be any questions, there can't be any excuses. Because every time you make an excuse, every time you let yourself off the hook, you have that cigarette, you watch that bit of corn, you have that little fantasy, you are literally becoming a soft cock. In the simplest language. Every time you do something that you said you weren't going to do, you are getting softer and weaker. And society is better able to mold you, control you, put you in a box, implant you with society's beliefs, society's attitudes, society's victim culture mentality. It's got to stop. So recently I've become very, very serious about this. And for y'all who are saying, it ain't that deep, lighten up, don't be so serious, what I say to you is stop being a bitch. Grow a backbone. Our great-grandfathers in the early 1900s had testosterone levels that were multiple times higher than ours right now. Modern men have a fraction of the testosterone that our great-grandfathers had. Now, if you read the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, very fascinating book, the author talks about this in depth. And he says basically what happened during World War I and World War II was that men left home en masse. Men were conscripted into the army to go and fight in a war and die to protect their home, as so they were told, to protect their families from these foreign forces. The degree of truth in any of the propaganda at the time, who's to say what was true and what was just his story? But the fact remains that men left home en masse. The older generation was taken away from the home. And so the mothers were left in charge. The women were left in charge. The women were put in charge to raise boys into men. There was no strong masculine influence around the home, unless maybe the mother ended up having an affair and bringing an effeminate, weak man into the home who wasn't strong enough or didn't qualify to get into the army. So we were basically dealing with pushover fathers from that point. And so more and more this effeminization of boys was being pushed, was being encouraged. More and more, the authorities recognized this as beneficial in the sense that they could have more and more influence over the home through the mothers. When you take away the head of the home, the father, this applies spiritually speaking as well, when you take away the patriarchy, which has become such a maligned, dirty word, the fatherhood of God, and you replace it with a nebulous concept of the universe, you take away all the structure, you take away all the masculinity, and you're left with this ethereal, soft nothing, which is prime territory for programming to come in. Relativism, mind control, and so on and so forth. Basically, when you tear apart families and you take away the fatherhood aspect, the family now comes under control of the government or whatever power structure you want to call it, who has an agenda to control and use people as batteries. That's what the free corn's about. It's about turning people into batteries. It's about harvesting energy. That's the whole premise of the Matrix. So I'm saying this because we need to be fathers again. I've just become a father. I'm realizing the importance of stepping into my full masculinity now. And the first thing that I have to tackle is this inner weakness, this inner compromise, this not following through, this giving my word and not following through. Every time you do that to your woman, she sees you as less trustworthy. She loses respect for you. She might not say that. On the surface, she's going to encourage you to be feminine as much as she can, a lot of the time, because that's how she's been programmed. That's how all the TV shows are now portraying that men should be. There's this push to strip men of their teeth, to strip men of their power, and make them like women, pushovers, controllable. We are the last piece in the puzzle. When we're taken out, when our masculinity is destroyed, it's a feeding frenzy. It's open slather. They can come in, they can control our kids, they can control the mind of our wife, our women. It's the same concept as when an invading army goes to a country. What do first? They take out all the men. They wipe out the men. As soon as the men are gone, it's open slather. The invading army will have sex with the women, enslave the children, and basically breed out their genetic line. That's what Genghis Khan did. He spread his seed across the whole world. He bred out all of the previous lines and replaced it with his own. So get on top of this. I challenge you for the next 30 days to not make a single promise to yourself or to others unless you fully intend on following through. No excuses. And you'll see this is like doing reps. Every time you follow through on your word, every time you refrain from giving someone your word when you're not being sincere, when you don't actually mean it, when you store that energy, you recirculate that energy, and you only speak when it actually means something, you're doing reps for your spirit, for your masculinity. You're developing a backbone so that eventually when you do say something to yourself, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going 90 days, no excuses. I'm going 90 days on retention, on full God mode. No lustful thoughts. I'll sooner die than relapse. When you draw that kind of line in the sand and you actually accomplish that goal, bro, your testosterone just doubles. I'm not kidding. Your self-respect, your masculinity, it all skyrockets. Your aura starts beaming. Your words start meaning something. Your gaze starts piercing. You don't get that piercing gaze from being a pushover who's constantly compromising, not following through on what they say. You get that piercing gaze by being that motherfucker who gets up at 5 a.m. like they said they would every morning. By doing those hard things. By following through when it sucks. When everything in your body is telling you to stop, to give up, to make an excuse, to compromise. That's what we need more of. So if you want to be around more of this energy, here's me pushing my program. No shame, no compromise, because I fucking believe in what we've built. The Sons of God is a place where we are cultivating real men, real on all levels, spiritually and physically. Bro, if you're still on your spiritual high horse, avoiding going to the gym, avoiding eating meat out of sense of piousness and I'm better than everyone, and you're avoiding sex out of this sense of like, it's beneath me, I'm going to be celibate because that's what spiritual people do. You got to come back down to earth, bro. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. That doesn't mean go and live in debauchery. It means find the balance. Find yourself in the physical so that you can transcend it. That's what we're promoting. That's what we're talking about in Sons of God. That's what we are cultivating amongst the brothers that are in that group. So if you want to be a part of that, jump in. Stop making excuses. Stop hesitating. Stop holding back. Start to embrace the fear and embrace the challenge and embrace the pain. It's $5 a month. You got nothing to lose. Stop pissing your money away on Starbucks and fuck knows what other stuff that people are wasting money on these days. Jump in the group now and let's grow to the next level. Much love, Kings.